And Jackie, you know what? I thought it would be a good idea if we talked about how money works for kids, because if kids are not,
Absolutely.
if kids aren't savvy about money, they're going to grow into adults who are not savvy about money. And so
Yes.
I think the first thing that's important is communication. Now, you have to
Mhm,
communicate. You have to talk about money with your kids. And by that, I don't mean
mhm,
specific things like we pay $3,000 a month for our mortgage or something like that. They aren't going to care about that. But what they are going to
mhm,
care about, hey, mom and dad have money coming in, and money maybe goes to pay for the house and goes to pay for the car. We buy groceries, things like that, so that they understand that when I was growing up, it was money doesn't grow on trees. Yeah. In other words,
mhm.
if I wanted something and
Yes.
the money wasn't there, what was I thinking? Because, there wasn't
Mhm,
a tree with money on in the backyard. But anyway, so it needs to be a conversation so that kids begin to understand
mm,
about money. And
mm,
also, and I know we've talked about this before, but needs and wants, because we all have to have
mhm,
certain things to live a comfortable lifestyle, period.
mhm,
It's not open for negotiation. We have to have a place to live, we have to have food, we have to have clothes, and so forth and so on. And so when you're talking about additional things, maybe because the kid next door has a new pair of Nikes or Jordans or whatever, well, that has to be considered in the budget, and kids need to understand that, hey, we've got to budget our money so we can pay our bills and have this, this, and this, you know. So that's
yes.
a beginning conversation, definitely. And I also think that we have to model good money habits for our kids. If they see us
Mhm,
just going out and wildly spending, that's not going to be a good example of what they should do with their money. So, you know, that's
mhm,
uh that's a good thing to start with right there. And there are, you got to decide, what kind of attitude do you want your kids to have concerning money,
mhm,
And so that's a good place to start. And then you have to start exhibiting that so that they think, mom's telling me this, but she's doing that. And the
mhm,
value of money, as we just mentioned. Also, your kids need to see you saving money, and maybe
mm,
that's a good conversation. Hey, we get paid every 2 weeks, and we put some money in our savings so that if an emergency comes up, we have money. Or
mhm,
maybe you want to save for that nice vacation, and and by you putting
mhm,
away money every month, they're gonna understand, "Hey, it's not like we just go out and put things on credit cards and have a nice vacation. We save up and then we go on vacation." So, and debt is another area. If your kids, see bills coming in or laying on the table, and they're probably gonna say, "Well, what's that? What's that mail about?" And,
mhm,
that would not be a good behavior, to show them that you got a lot of mail that has to do with bills, especially credit cards.
mhm,
Also, I think it's important to see your kids giving, or for them to see you giving money in some way.
mm,
Maybe it's just a little bit, to your favorite charity. Or now here's another thing. Maybe they see you spending time with an elderly family member, and that
mm,
could be looked at as a way of giving too. So, there's different ways to do that.
mhm.
Any thoughts so far about those things, Jackie?
Yeah, as you were talking, I was just like going through like what I really do with my kids. And so it's important to like really have that conversation with them. And we try as mothers, and sometimes we may think they're too young, but they really learn from just not just what we say, but what we do. Uh,
Yes.
so definitely, that's why this is an important topic. It's like, how do you handle kids and money? How do you want to raise them to be financially responsible?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a lot of families, what they'll do, they will give kids, I'm trying to think of the word here. Come come to my head. Yes, thank you. They like to give kids an allowance, not just
Mm,
because maybe they do chores, around the house or, that would
mhm,
probably be one way. And if they're a little older, maybe they can start mowing lawns, babysitting, pet sitting, those kind of things too. But
mhm,
and then they can have like a journal where they record, okay, this is what I have coming into me this month. And then also record the expenses.
mm,
And as a parent, you have to decide, well, what are they going to be responsible for in
mhm,
terms of their expenses?
mm,
So, and then they're gonna see, okay, I got this much coming in. I spent this, 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 and this. Ooh, I didn't save any money, or
mhm,
they're almost down to zero. And then you probably have to have that conversation with them. Well, if you're almost down to zero, guess what? You don't get any extras because you spent all your money.
mhm,
Something like that. So that's a good way to teach kids too, to have some kind of journal, a little notebook where they can just write, those kind of things every
mhm,
month. So I think that's a good thing. And saving, maybe they can have a little savings account at a bank, or maybe if they're really young, maybe it's a jar where they put money into,
mhm,
so they can see it accumulate. And then being really young, they can count, if it's coins, they can count the pennies, the nickels, the dimes, the quarter, whatever is in that jar for them. And
mhm,
so that's another way to teach kids about money. Now, with kids that are a little older, maybe, and I'm just saying maybe you want to start to give them maybe like a debit card. But once again, I think it has to be their money that's going in there so that they know when
mhm,
they've overspent, there's no more money. But it
mhm,
does definitely teach them um, about that. Also, there are certain games that you can get. There are games that you can get that teach about money. And depending upon the age, and some of the names of the games are escaping me now, but if you go to any like Target, they have a ton of games. Or if you
mhm,
Google money games for kids, I bet you a ton of things would come up. So that's
mm,
another way to do it. Let's see. There's something else that I wanted to go over. All right. Here's lastly, Jackie, I found this little page here that gives some suggestions about different age groups regarding money and what you can do.
mhm,
Ages 3 to 5. Our grandson's he'll be 3 this year. So it says use cash around preschoolers. So when you buy things, so they can see you actually giving money and getting something. Because at that age, debit cards are just too abstract for them. They don't
mhm,
they don't understand that. They think, "I have a card and it's magic money or something." I don't know.
mhm,
And as I mentioned, let them collect coins in a jar,
mhm,
and you can play games with them at that age. Show them 5 pennies, although I think they stopped minting pennies, but anyway, uh 5 pennies is a nickel. You can play those
mhm,
kind of little games with them. Age 6 to 10, they're a bit more aware, I think, of money. And plus, since they've been to school, they can do things like add, subtract, probably multiply, and divide. By age 10, they should be able to do all of that. So,
mhm,
uh, those are perfect ages right there to start an allowance, so that they
mhm,
see something coming in. And also, if you take your child shopping with you, they have hands-on experience of maybe putting things in the cart. And when we get to the checkout, oh, this is the amount we have to pay, those kind of things. And budgeting could really start at about age 9
mhm,
and opening a savings account. Now, age 11 to 14, it's in that middle school area there. Tricky area, tricky age for kids. But maybe there's a simple way to introduce them to the stock market.
Mm,
So that might be something. And at age 12, maybe encourage them to look for money outside the home. Once again, mowing lawns, maybe walking pets,
mhm,
babysitting, those kind of things. And extending maybe the allowance to weekly, you know, would be a good idea at this point. Then 15 to 18, this is when they're getting ready to think about college.
mhm,
So, some of their savings, they might want to save some for college expenses, as they're making some money. And so part-time job. And this is a good one because we always talk about compound interest when we talk
mhm,
about savings.
mhm.
But it can go the other way when you have credit cards, because that can compound in a negative way.
Yes.
That's a good thing to teach them about at this age. And of course, budgeting. They need to know the basics of budgeting. So, those are some of the things that I wanted to talk about today. Um, and definitely for me, I'd like to do some seminars, for different age groups of kids. And there's a booklet, I don't have it here, but it's for teenagers
Mm,
regarding money. That's another age group, especially that by the time they're teenagers, they should really have a good grasp of money because they're gonna
mhm.
be going to college, going out there in the world, and if they don't have that, which, nobody really teaches it, that's the problem. So,
Right.
it's up to us as parents or, like myself, someone who's already a financial professional, to do some seminars and teach kids about these things. Anyway, yeah.
That's awesome. And one of the things that Minority Wealth Gap is doing is we do have those youth courses for financial
Mhm.
literacy and data science for the youth.
14-minute timer
When they
started.
complete those courses, they um, end up getting a small computer. So I've had
Oh,
some
nice.
computers I need to distribute, but it costs some money to like get them fixed up and have an
Mm.
operating system for them to work. We really rely on the donations for that. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Very nice.
yes. So it's a big part of us, and as well as some of the women, we want to make sure they have access to our foundation for financial planning
Mm,
um, uh, through the through our partnership with F, the Foundation for Financial Planning, so they can have access to a CFP to kind of walk them through budgeting and maintaining money. But it's never easy for all of us. I know myself, I've studied Africanasta, where we do
oh,
all kinds of nice hairstyles. So this is my
very,
latest.
very nice.
Really affordable prices. We encourage some women to come over there. Will make you look wonderful. But in the process of starting a business, it's expensive. Way in there with my with the debt to income ratio. So it's definitely something that is always keeping me, alive. Besides that, I know that this is a business that would succeed and it's something that will give away. And we're hoping that Africanasta can help us fund some of our projects. So we encourage you to come to Africanasta. We're in Los Angeles. I'll show you my hair. I like this new hairstyle. We also deal
That's
in
nice.
protective hairstyles. What that means is we don't want to use chemicals because I know there's a lot of research that has come out with all the chemicals that the women are using that are causing cancer.
Ooh.
I think most people struggle with their scalp, the treatment. So that's something we're very, very key on in Africanasta. When you're coming, we're really taking care of your hair. We want to make sure it grows. We want to make sure, you know, all the years of chemical treatments, we try to unwind them as much as we can. But they're really
Mm,
protective hairstyles and natural hairstyles. I like this one in particular. I haven't done it in such a long time, but it's just easier for me to oil in between for my scalp, so I
mhm,
don't, the itching scalp. And, sometimes most of us are not very good with oiling hair. So that's why it breaks, it gets damaged. So some of his hairstyles give you that ability to really get in there for like a few weeks where you can literally oil your scalp, which is
mm,
good for you. Yeah. But besides that, we also introduced coloring. So whoever is interested in coloring hair, we do have licensed professionals at Africana Star.
Mm,
We're really creating a safe place, chemical-free place. Some of the products, some of our partners, Beauty and Glow that we partner with, they do hair that basically is chemical-free. Because I know a lot of research came out with hair being having some lead, at least for Black women, and it's putting cancer or putting lead chemicals. Because whatever you put on your head can sink through the
sure.
scalp. People don't know that. So we we are excited that we began the journey, but back to the financial topic, that's real.
Yeah,
Balancing is real.
absolutely.
And some months may not be as good as others. Like in our case, starting up Africanasta has really been tough. But we're hoping that the community out there can come and support us and let us help you grow your healthy, good hair. But in return, Africanasta is a socio-economic enterprise. And that means that some of those profits will be used to give back to some of our work in the prisons. We intend to do financial literacy courses. That's why it's tied to this topic, where our partners, FLTA, can teach women that have just come out of incarceration financial literacy, and as well go to the prisons and teach financial literacy. All that work needs support. We cannot volunteer forever. So we're hoping that this is one of the means in which we can generate some money to keep us going. We're being innovative and creative. So we're so
Yeah,
excited about that. But yeah, thank you, Linda, for all that you've taught about
absolutely.
today. I think we need to cover this topic one more time because I feel like
I
you were
think
kind
so.
of rushing through. But that's an important topic. I've learned a few things. I like the 3 to 5 year old show them the money. Yeah, because it makes sense. Because if they just see you swiping, they'll be like, you just swipe,
Yeah,
And
magic money.
yeah. And definitely before college, at least have your kid do at least a financial course, a financial
Yeah.
literacy course to set them up on track. Yeah, we all have to be intentional about that. But I think some schools are doing a better job than others to teach financial literacy, and some universities
Mm,
are working towards making it part of the curriculum.
mm,
Um, Most courses. So there's hope there. Hopefully that translates into more people understanding financial education. But again, it's not just the understanding, you also have to act it out. Because sometimes you can have all this knowledge, but like if you're not doing it right, yeah, you end up there. Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we
that's
thank you, Linda. And again, this
yes.
is the Seasons for Life. And this time we're both online and I'm excited. This was a good transition into continuing our program, and we're truly committed to making sure we keep giving you little nuggets that you can use. You may not do everything, but at least if you take away one thing, that's still one thing that will help your family. Any final words, Linda?
Yeah, I was just gonna say in terms of what I do, since I help people with their money too, people that are our clients have available to them a basic financial plan, and part of that is a budgeting worksheet. So I can work with people in that way as well.
Awesome. Yes. And Linda, can you please give people your phone number, how they can reach you?
Yes, absolutely. My phone number is 818-378-3752. Please feel free to call me and I can help you.
Right. And that is it from Essentials for Life. See you next week. Bye, everyone.
Yes. See you. Bye.